So why did you switch jobs?
Well, one, I wanted a job that was available closer to home because driving 3 hours every month got old. And two, I wanted something more physical and hands on because I'm much more of a physical person rather than just sitting at a computer all the time. So,
Oh, you had like a desk job, and that wasn't you. You
yeah,
wanted to use your hands. I got you. That makes a lot
yeah.
of sense. That makes a lot of sense. How much? So you're in your new school right now, right?
Yep.
How much?
Graduating next week.
Well, you graduate next week. How long was it?
Yes. It was about 4 months.
4 months to learn how to weld. Hot damn, yo! What kind of crazy other shit did they teach you in 4 months?
First of all, it's not just welding, it's also machining, which is a whole other trade. So there's two trades in 4 months, and it's really a lot of information in a short amount of time.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know shit about shit. So like, when I say some stuff like that, I got no fucking clue what you've been doing. I'm
I
surprised. Like,
I had zero background in maintenance. Like I didn't even know how to barely use a hammer or screwdriver. And then I came here and I just got bombarded with information about everything. So I feel like I was very overwhelmed, and now I feel really intelligent.
yeah, do you think you can use a hammer now?
I can use a hammer now. I
Good
can
for
use
you.
lots of tools now.
Lots of tools. Can you use power tools? I don't use power tools.
Yeah, I can use power tools. I can use big machinery as well. So that's cool.
What kind? Wait. What are we talking about machining? So like
like
when I think
like
machining, I'm thinking like a
lathes
factory line.
and
Lathe.
like
Okay.
lathes and mills, and the advanced course teaches CNC machining. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very very cool. I. How long do you plan to do military? Like forever?
Well, here's the thing. I enlisted thinking I was going to do 6 years and get out, like my
Yeah.
to get my college paid for, and then I ended up like after my deployment, I fell in love with it. I really liked it, and now I love my new job even more, and I love the benefits. I'm not gonna lie, the health insurance pretty hard to beat, retirement pretty hard to beat. So, and it's like when I'm done with this training, I go back to 1 week in a month and 2 weeks a year, and I get all the benefits of being in the military without having to do it full time. So it allows me to train full time.
Very cool. Are you interested in sort of the new machining and welding thing? Are you interested in taking these skills outside of the military down the line?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I'm retired from fighting, I love machining so far.
Very cool.
Absolutely love it. I love math, and like I'm a huge nerd, so I love machining. It's a
What
lot of
kind of nerd are you?
thinking.
What kind of nerd are you? Go. What kind of nerd?
I'm
Everybody's
not
a
like an
different.
anime type nerd. I'm like a total like math and physics and astronomy type nerd.
Yeah. What was your
Yeah,
degree in?
none of that. Psychology and criminal justice was my two majors, and then my minor was in sociology.
Why? If
Because
you're
originally I wanted to go to school to get my bachelor's so I could be an FBI agent.
hmm, okay, I got you.
And then MMA kind of took over my life, and then that didn't happen.
How'd you find MMA?
So I took cardio kickboxing in college as a fun way to get in shape for Air Force basic training, actually. And then the instructors for that happened to be Jake and Zach, who own Pure Vita, and they were like, "Hey, you have some talent and you have a good work ethic. Why don't you come try jujitsu and see how you like it?" And I like immediately fell in love with it because I like sucked at it, but it was like a cool puzzle to me, and I was like, I need to figure this out, and so I was like instantly addicted to it.
Okay, very cool. Very very cool. How long was it? How long were you doing cardio kickboxing with them before you were like, okay, I'll do jujitsu too?
um, so they started teaching in September, the first semester, and right before Thanksgiving, so November was when I first went to Pure Vita and I tried jujitsu for the first time. I didn't even know what it was. Like I had to look up on YouTube what jujitsu was, and I found out it was like some grappling stuff, and I didn't even I didn't wrestle in high school, so I had zero background in that. And I was like, well, we're gonna see how this goes. And Zach actually taught me a rear naked choke, and then he's like, okay, you want to roll? And I was like, I don't know what that means, but sure. And then and then I did, and I was like, this is a lot of fun, even though I really suck at it.
Had you done any? So you had already gone through your military training at this point, right? Some of it, like basic.
No. So I had enlisted, but I was waiting to go to basic training. So this was like the semester before I left for basic training. And then I left so I did jujitsu for a couple months, and then I left for basic training and tech school for the first time. So I was gone for about 6 months. I came back, and then when I came back, they let me start training with the fight team in like October or something. And then in November, Jake called me up the night before King of the Cage fight, and he's like, pack your bags, you're fighting tomorrow. And I was like, what? And he's like, pack your bags, you're gonna fight tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I did, and it was on an Indian reservation, so they didn't have like the same sanctions, so like I was able to step in on less than 24-hour notice. And then I ended up winning by TKO in the first round, and I was like, yep, this is what I want to do.
Were there weird rules in your first fight?
No. It was just a typical amateur MMA fight. I think I weighed in at like 155 because that's what I was walking around at. So it was just like a catch weight of 155. So
Got you. A lot of times on Indian reservations, they don't follow sanctioned MMA rules. Like knees to the head were allowed in my first amateur fight.
it might have been like that, but I think Jake asked for no knees or elbows because he knew that I like didn't really know what I was doing yet.
See, he probably had to negotiate. Like, no, we're not doing that shit to her. She signed up for this 4.5 minutes ago. What's wrong with you? Stop talking about that.
Well, him and Mike Camp, who used to be like in charge of the matchmaking for that, they hooked me up. They're like, yeah, we're not going to do anything crazy. You don't have to worry about elbows or knees or anything. So pretty thankful for that because I wouldn't have known what to do at all.
Tell me about that fight.
Barely remember. It feels like forever ago. I remember Kelly Richards is the one who drove me up to that fight. And I remember being like on an emotional roller coaster, like super nervous and then super excited and then super nervous and then super excited. And then I remember like
they're the same thing. They're two sides of the same coin. It's the same emotion. It's just how you look at it.
Yeah. So I guess I was looking at it two different ways constantly. But it was kind of nice because like it was my first fight and I didn't know what to expect. So I didn't have like the whole 6 weeks or whatever of a training camp to like feel nervous or anything really about it. I just had like less than 24 hours and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing this. So we'll see how it goes.
Had you been thinking about fighting already or had you just been fucking around with the fight team?
I was thinking about fighting, but in my head, I was going to do a kickboxing fight first just because I had such a background in cardio kickboxing and I did karate and taekwondo growing up. So I was much more of a striker stand-up fighter than I was a MMA fighter. Like I had zero wrestling. If you would have told me to shoot a double leg, I'd be like, what's a double leg? Like that's how much wrestling I knew.
She only has 2 legs. Do I have other options? Yeah, I got you. So what happened in that fight? I mean, you said you won it, but like, what do you remember? Anything? Or just the lead up?
So I remember bits and pieces of like walking out to it and not knowing at all what to expect. I remember. So this was back in the day when Pure Vita had 5 striking combos. Like that was their striking program. This was like a long time ago. So
yeah. They were just having you do the same thing they had the cardio kickboxing kids do, right? And that's what they did. Right? Okay.
That was the whole striking program.
It's called like combo 1, combo 2, combo 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I had 5 cardio kickboxing combos memorized, and that's literally all the training I knew. I remember I didn't know what to do. I kind of like froze, I think, a little bit. Like I was nervous and she was like hitting me or whatever. And she put me in like this weird headlock. Now, if you do that, like I know what to do. But like back then I was just like, I'm stuck in this headlock. I don't know what to do. And I remember just like muscling my way out of it somehow. And then Jake calling combo number 5. And so I threw combo number 5, which was cross hook. Remember that.
Remember
and then, I backed her up with it, and then I remember just like she was like against the cage, and I just remember like teeing off on her, and like I threw a knee that was probably really horrible, and because I didn't really know how to throw them, and I remember just punching her and kicking her and kneeing her until the ref stepped in and stopped it. So I think it lasted about like 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Like it was in the first round. So that's about all I remember.
How long was it before your next fight?
A month. So my amateur career was extremely fast. Like it was a whole year. That's it. And I had 9 fights in that year.
With 9?
Don't recommend doing that. Yeah, 9. Don't do
Holy
that.
fucking shit, lady.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I wanted to do that kind of shit. I've had 7 fights in 8 years. I wanted to have like 6 in a year. That shit doesn't work out for me like that. I'm jealous and terrified at the same time.
Also, don't be jealous because that was horrible for me. I think that's honestly what started like having health issues because you can't cut weight, especially as a female. You cannot cut weight that many times in a year and still be healthy. Like that's not good. Because I remember each fight I would gain like a little bit more weight and my body was like doing that yo-yo dieting thing, and that was bad. So even though it's like badass to be able to say I fought 9 times in a year, highly don't recommend that for anybody else.
Okay. That's the only other people that I hear that have fought that to that level are people who aren't cutting weight. Right? Like in Thailand, it's common for them to fight 20, 30, 40 times in a year. So that kind of stuff. I mean, 40 is probably an exaggeration because they tend to only have like 100 fights, but that's still 100 fights, right? And they retire at 20 years old, and the fights are 7. Right? But those guys don't cut weight for that. Yeah, man. Yo, okay. So when I was in Thailand, one of my coaches had at the moment that they had put the thing on the board, he had over 526 fights.
I can't even like picture that. That's insane.
Right? But like, dude fought in boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. He fought in everything. Like, and you got to think they don't. So the reason that the Thai spar, you know how Thai spar, right? Touch spar.
Yeah.
Do you know why they do that?
So they don't get hurt.
Mm-hmm. But more
because like that's their whole income, isn't it? Like the fighting. Yeah.
Right. So the average Muay Thai fighter historically or like traditionally is a poor kid whose family couldn't afford to raise them. So they send them to go live in a gym. The gym takes care of them and raises them. They adopt the last name of the gym, right? So if you see somebody whose name is such and such, Sit Yong Tong, like their last name is not Sit Yong Tong. When I was in Thailand, I was training at Phuket Top Team. Lurdzilla, Phuket Top Team, was one of the best fighters, right? Like his name's not Phuket Top Team. Okay. They write down the name of their gym, right? So and then they fight in order to earn their living from like 6 years old, 7 years old, 5 years old. I don't even know when the earliest they're allowed to start is. And they send a portion of that back to the family in order to literally be fighting for yours and your family's lives. And they
that's
fight.
A whole other kind of pressure.
Yeah.
But that's how you raise a warrior, man. Like they're totally like way tougher than we will be in America.
But they're done at 20. They're completely done at 20 because they fought 180 times and they don't understand. They did for a long time. They didn't understand strength and conditioning. They didn't understand recovery. Like they didn't do any of the other stuff right. But what they did know is they couldn't fight every day because they were fighting every weekend.
Still, that's hard on your body.
Montel used to get, when Montel was there, they beat him with canes. Because, Montel's a dickhead who likes to hit people way too hard in training. And then we go, chocolate! No power, chocolate! And hit him with a stick.
That's hilarious.
You'd have like six groups of people sparring inside of a boxing ring, right? And then on the edge is the coaches hanging over the edge. And some of them are holding on to sticks in order to stop you from that kind of shit. It happened to Montel over and over and over and over again. They called him chocolate because he's so dark, right? Fucking racist. They never see black people.
Makes sense.
Right? Chocolate, no power. Whack! No power, chocolate. Whack! All the time, over and over and over. Right? So homeboy had over 500 fights. Like if you're
That's
30
insane.
years old, 52 weeks in a year, like you could do it theoretically in 6 years. You could have 300 fights, right? In 10 years, you could have 500 fights, right? So if you fought every single weekend for 10 years, but that's not how it works. They don't only fight on the weekends. Sometimes they fight on a Tuesday. And then you drive an hour away and you fight on Friday.
Are they holding back some of their power though when they do fight each other because they know like the other person also has to fight again in like a few days?
Yep.
So like
Muay
it's gotta
Thai,
be
it's much more about appearance than efficacy,
okay.
right? So if I kick you in the head and you don't react at all, you no-sell that shit, and then you punch me in the thigh and I cry like a 6-year-old girl, you win and I didn't do shit.
I mean, yeah.
It's all appearances. Doesn't matter if that kick was so hard it would have knocked the average person out. If you just stare at me and act like nothing happened, and then I go, "Oh, you don't hit me like that." My kick doesn't score, but your punch does, right? So Thailand, they have a lot of stuff like that. They do. I think it's 3-minute rounds, and they get 2-minute breaks in between. And it's I think it's either 4 or 5 rounds. The first round is a feeling out period, right? The first round is when bets come in, right?
That's crazy too, because they're like big into betting, aren't they? Like that's like a huge thing over there.
Sport. Gambling is illegal in the country if it's not on Muay Thai. It's the only way they're allowed to gamble.
Yeah.
So like there's like people walking around in the thing. Like, you want to bet on this fight? No. Okay. You want to bet on this fight? No. Okay. You want to? All right. Yeah, I got you. Blah 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 blah. They start taking your money, doing all that shit, right? So the whole first round is dudes running around collecting get-bets. So the fighters in the first round don't look to finish people. They're not even
that makes sense. Yeah.
They're showing what they can do. And then
so it's like a glorified sparring match at that point. Then.
More like an exhibition.
Okay.
Right? Like, you ever do like a taekwondo exhibition? Not like an exhibition fight, but like form. Like
yeah.
It's almost like that.
Okay.
Right? Look at the crazy shit I can do. Okay, now look at the crazy shit I can do. Right? Like, even their traditional dance in the beginning, their Y crew, is part of that. It's them showing what they are capable of doing. And then in round 2, it becomes more of a fight. And I forget if it's 4 rounds or 5 rounds. So at this point, I'm going to kind of start bullshitting. Round 3 is even more of a fight. Okay, rounds 4 and 5 happen. Round 3 and 4 happen in the clinch, right? Okay. And by the end of round 4, you already know who's won the fight. So in round 5, they just coast.
I mean, you almost have to do it like that because you can't like go 100% if you know you're gonna have to fight again in a few more days. Like there's no way the human body could take that. You wouldn't heal on time.
I heard a story of this. I forget who it was, but some Westerner, some white dude that was on. I think Joe Rogan was out there, and before one of his fights, his cornerman says, "Careful elbow," and he says, "Yeah, careful elbows. Of course, there's elbows." He says, "No, careful elbow. No doctor. Closest doctor, 2 hours away."
Oh,
right. So, if he gets cut, there's no one there to stitch him up.
Yeah, that'd be nerve-wracking.
Muay Thai is almost as savage as Lethwei. You ever heard of Lethwei?
I don't know what Lethwei is, no.
Lethwei is done in Burma. It's Muay Thai, but it's bare knuckle, and it involves headbutts.
Hell no. 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 I'm out.
Here's the craziest thing about Lethwei. If I knock you out, your cornermen have 2 minutes to wake you back up and send you back into the fight.
Yeah, so no.
I'm
not doing that.
One time in the recorded history of Lethwei, the man who got knocked out came back and won the fight. It's only happened once. They still do it. That dude never loses. That dude never comes back and wins. But they still wake him up and send his ass back out there every fucking time.
How are they testing these people for CTE when they die young?
No, the reason that they fight in Lethwei instead of Muay Thai is because they're even more poisoned than Thai fighters. Right? So the people who fight in Lethwei, more often than not always, tend to be slightly less skilled and couldn't make it in Muay Thai. Or maybe not skilled, but like they couldn't make it in Muay Thai. And they're significantly more poor than they even are in Thailand. So this is their outlet. This is their opportunity. Like the origins of fighting are totally crazy. You know, the reason that the Dutch have kickboxing is because they had so many slave nations, right? They were all over the place. They're a big trading country. And they had all this money because they did all this trading. So they got really big into gambling. And they gambled on their slave fights.
I did not know that, but you learn something new every day.
I'm fucking crazy. What was your introduction to combat?
Well, I already talked about my introduction to MMA, but I guess introduction to martial arts would have been when I was 4 years old. I saw a commercial for karate, and I didn't stop begging my parents until they signed me up when I was 5 years old, like a week after my 5th birthday.
Had you ever been in a fight before that?
No. I've never even been in like a street fight, actually.
Okay.
I was like a super shy kid, and my parents were excited that I wanted to do karate because they thought it would give me confidence and give me like a way to stand up to bullies and stuff. I mean, it gave me more confidence, I believe, and it gave me a lot of good values, but I still didn't like have the confidence to stand up to bullies, even though I could have at the time.
Any idea why that was?
I don't know. I was like born super shy, and I was like a tomboy, and so girls didn't like me because I didn't fit in with them, and because all of my friends were guys when I was a kid, and I used to like, I was a huge tomboy. I used to like want to be a boy. Like I would say that, like I did not literally, but like I would say that I wanted to be a boy just because I would fit in with the guys a lot more because I liked sports and I liked to be tough and I liked to play outside. I was not much of a girly girl at all.
Gotcha. How long did you do karate for?
So I did karate from age 5 to 11. And then when I was 11, I switched over to Taekwondo, which was super similar to the karate that I was doing. Because I was at Karate America and then I did like American style Taekwondo. So it was like very, very similar. So from 11 to 17, I did Taekwondo.
Why did you switch?
I had a friend who had switched over to this Taekwondo gym, and they were doing like the cool flips and stuff. And I always thought that looked cool, and I wanted to learn how to do like the flips and the gymnastics part of Taekwondo. And so that's why the main reason I switched. And then also, I had gotten my 2nd degree black belt in karate, and the karate school I was going to didn't really have a program for kids at that advanced of a level, so there was just not much left for me to learn there.
Did you get a lot of value out of Taekwondo?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a lot more like disciplined, especially for the kids, like versus like kids jiu-jitsu. There's a lot more like running around and playing, and it's a little bit more chill of a martial art for kids. Whereas karate and Taekwondo is like you stand at attention, you say yes sir, no sir, you bow like before you do everything, and it's just I don't know. I think that gave me a lot of the discipline that I have, and also my parents not allowing me to quit karate or Taekwondo until, because there was a period of time I wanted to quit karate, and my parents were like, you can quit when you get your black belt. And then so that forced me to stick through it when I didn't really want to continue doing it. And that lesson really taught me perseverance and sticking with something even when like it gets hard. So I think that's another lesson I learned about it. What?
Why did you want to quit?
I don't even remember. It was probably something stupid. I was like 8. So it was probably like I wanted to go play with my friends instead of go to karate class.
I don't have this shit.
Yeah.
I can be doing hot fries and eating sandwiches. What's wrong with you, Pop?
It's probably I wanted to like go ride bikes with my friends instead of going to karate class. It wasn't anything big.
I got you. Do you? I'm trying to think about how to ask this question. Taekwondo black belts are a dime a dozen in MMA, but nobody reps Taekwondo. A couple people out there rep karate. Do you see a difference between the two? And can you offer any insight in why we see karatakas? We don't see Taekwondo experts.
That's a really good question. Because karate is a lot more like, it's a lot less kicking than, like, there's a lot more hand and punches and stuff involved in karate. There's a lot of similarities between the kicks, though. Just that Taekwondo is like almost all kicks, especially if you watch it in like the Olympics. Like they have their hands down and it's like mostly them like kicking each other. So maybe that's the reason that people don't rep Taekwondo in the UFC, because like you can throw Taekwondo kicks, but like if you were to do just a straight up Taekwondo style, it's pretty dangerous unless you're like Anderson Silva and can fight with your hands down. But that's pretty rare.
Yeah. Do you know why they fight like that?
No.
Punches to the face aren't allowed in Taekwondo.
What'd you say?
Punches to the face are not allowed in Taekwondo.
Oh, yeah.
You are allowed to punch, but you can't punch to the face.
Yeah. And if you do like hit to the head, it's got to be like a back fist, and it has to be to like where the headgear is. At least that's what I remember from sparring in Taekwondo.
That I didn't know.
It depends on the tournament, and I guess probably the Taekwondo style that you do, because there's like different Taekwondo styles. But
yeah, very interesting. There's do you remember what kind of karate you did?
No, American karate. It was literally called Karate America, so it was like straight up like the Americanized version.
Competitive karate falls into two different categories: point karate and full contact karate, and they're distinctively different. I think Taekwondo works like this, but point karate works kind of like fencing, where I touch you and nothing after that matters, right? If I touch you before you touch me, let's say we both strike and I touch you a quarter of a second before you touch me, my point counts, your point doesn't count.
Yep.
Right? So
I remember that from Taekwondo too.
Yeah, I think it's like that in Taekwondo, right?
Yeah.
Full contact karate doesn't have those resets in between in between connections, but full contact karate doesn't allow punching to the face. Have you ever kick sparred with someone? No punches, only kicks?
Yeah.
In my experience, and tell me if this is the same for you. So if we are fighting and we are both kicking a lot, we will fight from a range like this. And then you tell us we're only allowed to kick and not allowed to punch, and suddenly we start fighting like this.
I mean, yeah, I think you do get a little bit closer.
You start getting really close. Because if you're too close, if you're inside of kicking range, it's hard for them to kick you.
See, but I like to keep people away with like side kicks and teeps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like
So in full contact karate, they're not allowed to punch in the face. So they fight from like damn near chest to chest. They are, however, allowed to kick to the head. So imagine if you and I were clinching and still head kicking each other.
That's why they're so flexible.
Yeah, they can knee to the head too. They can do all sorts of crazy shit that other fighters can't do. because the rules dictate the sport. The sport dictates the rules, and the rules dictate the style.
Yeah.
Right? So the entire game changes when you change the rules. Imagine how different MMA would be if suddenly we weren't allowed to throw punches. Period. You can throw elbows still. No more punches.
Dang. People would fight closer, I think, because they wouldn't have to worry about getting hit in the head. Although they would have to worry about elbows. It would be a weird range because you'd want to be too close so they can't kick you, but you'd want to be far enough away that they can't elbow you.
And on the ground, I don't have to worry about punches anymore. But he might elbow me. Right? As soon as you change the rules, you change the sport.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
Wrestling and jiu-jitsu, they're the same thing with different rules.
Yeah, wrestling, I don't really know too much about wrestling. I know that, can't you not grab your hands together, around someone's body or something?
Mm-hmm. Because it's too hard to break it in an effective time manner. It's too dominant of a position, and it slowed down the pace of the sport, so it wasn't as fun for spectators to watch.
Okay.
Most of the rules of sports they're either for safety or to make them fan friendly. Right, so like in judo and in freestyle wrestling, I think in Greco as well, you only grapple on the ground for 10 seconds max, 20 seconds max, and then they reset.
Judo's always been weird to me because I don't understand the rule. I've tried to watch in the Olympics and I didn't understand what I was looking at. I've never done judo, so I have no idea what's allowed and what's not. I just know that there was a lot of gi grabbing, and that's about it. That's what I took away.
Most of it is grip fighting and neutralizing your opponent's grips. They're allowed to throw and trip, but as of 2016, you're not allowed to touch your opponent's legs with your hands or arms. Right, so traditional judo has double legs in it, but at some point they said, well, we already have wrestling. Why would we keep judo? Or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So over time, they've changed the rules of wrestling and judo to separate them from each other.
Okay.
Right? Once you change...
are they allowed to do only certain submissions, or because the
Yeah,
armbar,
there's
right?
no leg locks. You can armbar, and they can choke, but I think the method of choking is different. So you'll see a lot of collar chokes in judo. When newaza is what they call the ground game. You'll see a lot of collar chokes, but you won't see a lot of rear naked chokes, right?
Okay.
You do see a lot of triangles, but they aren't the triangle you learn in jiu-jitsu. It's a different. There are five triangles that are 5 leg-based triangles that are effective strangles, right? The easiest way to understand this, the way that I first learned it before I learned that there was only 5. So if I want to strangle you, right? We've talked about this before. My chin is a V. My target is a V. I have to choke you with a V. So in this instance, my legs form that V. Your arm is one side of that V. My leg is the other side of the V. And there's the top on the box. Okay. Now there's a new V.
Just the angle changed?
Same things. If I rotate the angle, there's a new V lined up with your throat. And then I can't turn that far, right? But so you can just rotate the triangle and it becomes a different triangle. The finishing mechanics are different, but the baseline position is effectively the same. It's still one arm in, one arm out, head in, legs around neck. Right, so there's actually 5 different triangles. The front triangle, Ushiro Sankaku, is the one that is typically seen in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, okay, because it's the one that's most readily available from your back and from the pinning positions that we typically use. There's also I'm going to fuck up all the Japanese names if I try and do it, but there's the reverse triangle, or there's the opposite triangle, which looks backwards, right? You ever see somebody and they lock their triangle on the wrong side?
Yeah.
Instead of locking the triangle over the arm on the side, this side, they'll lock it on the other side. there's actually a way to finish that, and it's just as powerful, if not more powerful. It's also easier to do if you have short legs than the other one is, but it requires quite a bit more skill and know-how. No, it doesn't even require more skill. It just requires knowledge that the average person doesn't have. Right? So then there's also a rear triangle. If I take your back and I step over your arm, I can put you in a triangle while we're both still facing the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those 3 triangles, you can switch back and forth between them with only minor adjustments. Right? So they're a set. It's a set of these 3 triangles, and then there's a second category of triangles. There is Yoko Senkaku, the side triangle, which is if you're on top of side control and you step over their head and you get their arm in that position, and then you were to shove your other leg under their head, you're now in a triangle. Right?
I guess I've never tried it that way.
Right? Because most of the time it doesn't work, because most people don't understand the finishing mechanics. So it's an effective holding position. It's still a triangle. It's still head and arm control, right? If a seatbelt grip, it's head and arm control, right? A triangle is head and arm control, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a different thing to have the proper finishing mechanics. And then the 5th one is a reverse triangle. I don't entirely that one is more that's like if we were in front headlock, if you shot and I sprawled and then I stepped my right ankle into your left armpit, no, that's going to put me into a Yoko Senkaku. There's a 5th one that I can't remember offhand, right? Point being, the first 3 triangles work as a set. You can make a minor adjustment and you can go back and forth because the leg configuration is the same. The last 2 triangles work as a set because the leg configuration is the same, right? So in the first 3, my hips are facing towards your hips.
Except
backwards. Kind of. Backwards. In the first 3, my hips are facing away from your hips. And in the second 2, my hips are facing towards your hips.
Okay.
Right? So trying to go between the sets doesn't really work out because I literally need to go in order to do it, right? But I can do all these other things because I'm still facing the same direction. Right. And if I want to go to the other set, I got to go like this, and then I can start doing all that stuff, right? This is my dumbed down version of what's on John Donaher's 8-hour-long triangle DVD, right? Like, I originally thought that there were 9 different triangles, but some of them don't work. Some of them are holding positions, but they're not finishing positions. So it's actually pretty common to see a triangle done in wrestling as a counter to a shot. But the triangle they use doesn't have strangulation. It doesn't have effective strangulation capability. You can neck crank the shit out of somebody and you can keep them from going anywhere and you can get to a better position, but you're not going to choke a man unconscious. Right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
This is what I do all day.
I can tell.
Seriously, all day. All fucking day. I watch combat sports and now I train dogs.
Train dogs too?
Yeah. I got 2 big ass dogs and they're like just as big as Jake's dogs, right? Like I know he's got like a Saint Bernard or something like that. Those things get huge, right? I have a 155-pound Mastiff.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures actually on social media, so.
I refuse to have dickhead dogs. So I had to learn how to train and I don't have the money to just have somebody else train my dog. And I'm also not interested in just have somebody else do it for me because I don't want to do that every single time I get a new dog.
It's fair.
But I have some of the most difficult dogs you can have for a novice. But I haven't spent just as much time studying dogs as I do jiu-jitsu.
I love dogs.
It's exhausting. And my puppy's still an asshole because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
You have your hands full, man. You got like little children and dogs, and yeah, couldn't do it. It's a lot of energy.
When we trained together, I had this much life.
Yeah.
This much life, all was my training. And anything that someone said, like, hey, you got to do this, I'd be like, okay, does it fit in here? No, it doesn't fit? Okay, I'm not doing that. Right? I just kept trying, like, right? So, like, when I was in school, they were like, okay, this class, it's only offered at 11:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, but there's only noon class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I guess I'm not taking that class.
I mean, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Once I met Jake and Zach, my whole life was like, all right, well, everything's got to conform to MMA. So
Exactly. If it doesn't fit to this box,
yeah,
right? I had this much amount of life, and it fit inside of training, right? Well, then my beautiful and amazing stupid ass wife took me to Texas. I got a wife. I got 2 dogs. We had a kid. Then we moved to New Jersey. We got a house. Got another kid.
now you're like living the whole like stereotypical American life, man.
Right? We're a nuclear family. We're
Yeah.
a nuclear family. I've never been a part of a nuclear family. And now I had this much life. I got to fit into this tiny ass little hole. Like, how the it doesn't work. So I've taken some time off to like recalibrate and figure some shit out. My mind wasn't right for quite a while. It was a real struggle. But yeah, I heard you got married or engaged or some shit like that.
Engaged.
Ooh.
Getting married in
Wow,
like 73 days.
73 days? Where are you guys going? Is it a destination wedding? Can I be the ring bearer? I'll dress up like a bear.
No, we don't have a ring bearer.
Well, yeah, you didn't have a ring bearer. Now you have a ring bearer.
It's in Milwaukee, so if you're going to come to Milwaukee, you guys can be invited to our wedding.
73 days. When is that?
May 21st. May 21st.
I'll talk to Chris. We'll see what's up. It's unlikely, but I'll talk to Chris anyways. Dustin, that's his name, right? Dustin Donald?
Yes.
Yeah. I did a couple of, I saw him at PB a couple times training, like once or twice doing MMA, but I did a couple sessions with him with Nick Belegas. That's kind of how I knew him more, with 1 or 2 sessions.
That's how I met him, actually. He was finishing up a session, and I was about to start one, so that's how we met.
Okay. And it was just love at first sight?
Well, I thought he was hot, and I told Nick that, and then Nick told him, and he didn't believe Nick. He thought Nick was just messing with him because Nick always messes with people. And so, like, a year later, he, like, messaged me, like, responding to one of my stories of, like, me working out with Nick. He, like, commented on it, and then we just started talking from there. So, yeah.
How long have you guys been together now? It's got to be, like, 3 years or some shit almost.
It was, like, 3 years from our first date in February. But we've been officially a couple for like almost 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you. Is he still fighting?
Yeah, but he's had some health issues as well. So he is trying to get healthy, and then he's going to go back to fighting eventually.
Okay. So you had a 3-year layoff, right?
Yeah.
And that was, this is not exactly right, but it was largely because you couldn't make weight, right? Like health issues caused it, but your health issues didn't prevent you from being in the gym, right? But your health issues made it impossible to make weight.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. What changed?
I did actually have to take like a long period of time away from training completely because my body had to it was like shutting down. So I had to stop and let my body heal. The main thing that changed is I've been working with a doctor who specializes in thyroid physiology, and he's the one who's really, really helped me because he looks more in depth into regular doctors. They'll test your thyroid, and as long as your T3 and T4 levels are normal or within their disease range, you're fine. Or they'll just give you T4 supplement to take, and it didn't do anything for me. So I was like, okay, something else is going on. What?
They put Band-Aids on it.
Exactly, yes. So they weren't finding out the root cause of everything. Yeah. So I've been working with a functional medicine doctor who looks like in depth into like full blood panels and hormone tests and all that stuff. And there was like a laundry list of things that were wrong with me. So I had to like start from fixing one thing at a time. And so it ended up taking like a total of 3 years to fix everything. I'm still not like 100% healthy, but probably no one's 100% healthy and perfect and everything. So I'm healthy enough that I can train and fight and my body's functioning again. So I feel much better.
What was the biggest thing? What was the thing you changed that made the biggest impact?
Focusing on listening to my body and recovering. Recovering was probably the number one thing that I ignored for years.
They used to kick you out of the gym, right?
Yeah.
I heard that you would show up to practice. It'd be like 11 a.m. It's your fourth workout of the day. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. You can't even learn anything. Go home. Fucking quit.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to have to kick me out of the gym. Or, like, I don't know, they sometimes they'd yell at me for doing too many like private lessons in a day because like I just wanted to learn everything. like that's my curse is like I want to learn everything about everything. So like when I get obsessed with something, like
erudite.
Yeah.
You want to be an erudite. That's the term.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that there was a name for it.
It's one who possesses great knowledge or learning. I also want to know everything about everything, but it's impossible. So I've had to limit it to combat sports and dogs.
See, and I have like so many interests. It's just hard for me to limit it now. Especially because I had to take so much time off. So I was like, okay, I have to find something else that like I want to learn about. Because it was like MMA 100% of the time, all the time. And then I was like, when I had to take some time off, even when I had my knee surgery, I had to take some time off. I was like, okay, I need to find other hobbies or other interests to pass the time.
What else are you interested in?
Well, I've recently discovered that I'm very interested in machining and welding and metals technology. So it's like super fascinating to me. There's a whole world of things that I didn't even know existed. And now that I know that they exist, I have to learn about them.
Why is it so interesting?
Because it's crazy. Like that you can change like metallic properties by like heat treating it and like the way that it's formed. It's like totally like different properties like cast iron and like you can't weld it because it was formed in like a mold and it's like it's very hard but it's easy to break, like it's brittle.
Yeah
And it's just like the more I learn about it, the more fascinating it is to me because I didn't know that these things existed. And then also it's awesome and like satisfying when you can make something with your own two hands. So like when I can make like what can I can machine like a hammer and like I make something with my own two hands. It's like a really cool feeling and I love it.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment of artwork.
Yeah.
Right, like fighting is an art. Seems like that's an art too.
It is, definitely. Especially welding. It's definitely an art form.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have a whole table. I don't know if you can see that. I have a whole table with metal.
Go grab some shit. What's cool over there? Show me some cool shit.
All right, hold on. There's stuff over here. Can't hold it all.
I said, show me some cool shit, not all the cool shit. Come on,
It's
girl.
all cool shit. It's all cool shit. All right, so I didn't get to finish. So this is what's sad. We had snow days in Texas because apparently they don't realize it snows here, and they cancel everything when it snows, even like a half inch. So they freak out. So we missed a bunch of days of school. So I didn't get to finish some of my projects. So this was a mini barbell. Here, let me see if I can fix
back up. Back up.
All right.
There you go.
This was a mini barbell. I didn't get to finish turning down this side of it.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it backwards.
Yep.
So
I have that problem all the time. I'm
yeah,
playing with the ear that's on the left side of my butt. Oh, wait, that's my right ear. And that shit happens all the time. Every time you see me mess with the camera, I'm like, ah, fuck. And then I go the other way. I'm like, I got you.
So this was a mini barbell that I was making as like a personal project. And then the cool thing was like we learned how to do like threads. So like I made this bushing and I made the threads both internally and externally. So now I can screw this on. And then if you shake it, it doesn't like rattle, which means that it's like the perfect fit. And it's really cool. It's a lot of work making all this stuff. It like might not look like much, but it's like hours of stuff of training went into this.
I did engineering in high school. I understand, like, and I just did the computer end of it. Like, I never actually made the stuff. I just did the design elements. So, like, I conceptually understand the amount of work that you just put into it. Yeah. That's a lot. What other cool stuff are you into? You said you had to find a bunch of new stuff, but this is a new thing. So what other stuff are you studying? You said you're a nerd.
I really like physics. And so, like, I watch a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson stuff, like where he talks about like astrophysics, because that stuff fascinates me. Like space.
Tell me something cool about astrophysics.
Dude, you can't put me on the spot like this. I wasn't prepared. I don't know.
Hell yes, I can. I told you I had 3 prepared questions. We've covered 2 of them, right? And then everything else is off the cuff. You were prepared for off the cuff conversation.
I haven't thought about like any astrophysics stuff in a long time. My brain is full of metal right now. Like, that's all I can think about is metal.
Tell me something about the physics of metal. Combined theories.
See, now I'm like, now I'm put on the spot. I don't know.
I don't care. No worries. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but like, I'm not worried about the fact that you're shutting down. Don't get nervous about it. It's not that big a deal. Really, it's not.
I know it's not a big deal.
Recovery. You said that recovery is the biggest thing that you added. What do you do for recovery?
Well, the number one thing is limiting my training sessions per day.
No.
That is like a huge issue for me.
I understand that. Okay. I also struggle with recovery. There's no such thing as overtraining. It's under recovering.
Fair enough. So,
go ahead.
Stretching and doing foam rolling stuff really helps a lot. I don't do it nearly enough, but it's something that I've definitely added into my routine. I need to do more.
Are you good with a foam roller?
What?
Are you good with a foam roller?
I don't know if I'd say good. I know the basics of foam rolling, and when I have sore muscles and stuff, I actually have a massage therapist that's like specifically like sports massage, and I also do that once a week, as well as go to the chiropractor once a week, which seems to really help with like how I feel, how loose I am. And when you're stretched out and like you're taking care of your muscles and like your spine and stuff, like you can train a lot harder and not like do as much damage to your body. So
what part of Texas are you in?
I am in Wichita Falls.
Okay. So we spent a year in Texas, right? We were at Goodfellow Air Force Base. If you threw a dart at Texas and you hit a bullseye, you'd be about 25 miles away from San Angelo, Texas. The 2 redeeming factors of San Angelo, Texas, because it's the capital city of nowhere, right?
Have you been to Wichita Falls? Because it's like...
I bet you that's the middle of nowhere. I was in the capital city of nowhere. Okay. Everyone who lives in the middle of nowhere drives in to San Angelo for hours. They call it the big city.
They actually do that for here in Wichita Falls too. It's insane. I was like, what? You drove here? Like, this is where you came? Like, horrible.
I'm going to do a podcast with this guy this weekend. His name is Brandon Smith. He taught me about how to use a foam roller. I've had foam rollers for over a decade, and I've tried to use them, and they were stupid. And then he showed me how to do it. And what he did was he put me on a PVC pipe, right? because the foam roller wasn't helping me. He showed me, he's like, all right, lay like this. Now find the most painful spot you can tolerate. Now go to sleep.
That sounds excruciating.
I couldn't do the spot. He told me to do my IT band. I couldn't do my IT band because I started sweating. I was shaking and I started dripping sweat. I couldn't do it. So I did my quads. I laid there for probably 35 minutes and it relaxed like muscles I didn't know I had. Okay. Yeah. Muscles that it didn't make sense. Like, wait. I'm pushing on my quad. Why do I feel this in my nipple? Right? Like weird, right? So then he started teaching me more and more about how this stuff works. I study that similarly obsessively to how I study other things. Right now, I'm not studying it as much, but like I carry a bag of recovery stuff with me all the time. Okay, I'm going to send you a link later for a foam roller, and you're never going to use another foam roller that doesn't come from this company.
Okay.
Because they're that good. They're the Mercedes, the Ferrari, name your favorite car. Okay. That's what this one is. And everything else is a go-kart. It's a handmade go-kart made out of wood. It doesn't even have an engine.
Fair enough. I'm actually due for a new foam roller, so.
Perfect. Perfect. They're called Rolgas. They're specifically designed to contour to your body. My Rolga's upstairs, or I would just grab it and show it to you. So he taught me how to do that stuff. Like the reason I asked where you are in Texas, because it would genuinely be worth it for you to travel and meet this man.
Is he in San Angelo?
He's in San Angelo.
It's probably far from here. Texas is huge.
I know. San Angelo is 6 hours from the western border of Texas, 6 hours from the northern border of Texas, 6 hours from the southern border of Texas, and 6 hours from the eastern border of Texas. Texas is 12 hours by 12 hours. It's fucking bullshit. It doesn't make any sense.
It's horrible. I don't want to be here. I would feel trapped in Texas.
Texas is super cool though. The problem is you're in the middle of nowhere, and you're on base. Are you like actually living in? This is gonna sound weird. Are you
living in a hotel room on base?
Oh yeah. Go experience Texas as much as you can. I know you're in school. You don't have a lot of time.
I have explored Dallas and Fort Worth.
How far away are you from those?
They're like 2 hours.
What direction?
South.
Okay. So you're going to be far from San Angelo, but like I'm telling you, if you go spend some time with this guy, he'll change your career.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, I don't mean this to sound disrespectful at all, but do you remember the difference when you started working with me in jiu-jitsu for the brief period we did? Just the knowledge base that I hold?
Yeah.
Okay. This guy has that for how to use a foam roller.
Yeah.
And strength and conditioning. This dude changed my life. Okay, I would never be fighting today if I hadn't met Solo Acosta. This man changed my life in that sort of manner. A complete pivot, right? I like stay an extra week in Texas, go to San Angelo, and go train with him for a week. For real.
I wish I could, but I have orders to come back.
I'm not telling you have to specifically do this, but like that's how serious what I'm telling you is. Yeah. Right? If recovery is that important to you, I could not imagine sending you to a better place.
Yeah,
right? Like, he's the seed for all of the knowledge I have. I had been trying to learn this on my own for a decade. I have been in like, how many injuries have you had over the long amount of years you've been in combat sports?
I don't even know.
How many people told you it was only going to get worse as you get older?
Everyone.
That doesn't have to be true. People say that because people don't know what to do. People shouldn't talk about things they don't know anything about.
Yeah, I feel that way about like doctors that claim to know things that don't really know things.
Do you know there's a difference between an MD and a DO?
I know that there is a difference, but I am blanking on which
It
one's
sounds
which.
like the guy that you're working with now is a DO. I don't know that for a fact, obviously, but an MD is a glorified bandage. They treat symptoms in the quickest way
Yeah,
possible.
yeah,
A DO takes a holistic approach in addition to any sort of MD type works that they find necessary.
yep.
So they
That's
go and
exactly.
look at your lifestyle. How are you sleeping? How are you eating? How much do
Oh,
you
my
eat?
breathing is what one of the first things he asked
Yes.
me too.
Yes, exactly. They look at every single component of your life and they start to repattern your baseline functions,
Hmm.
right? So Brandon Smith taught me how to redo my motor patterns. I had a series of um, disastrous injuries as I was developing. I went to physical therapy, but I didn't do the homework. So my mom said, if you're not going to do the homework, I'm not going to take you to physical therapy. So I just continued training. So I developed them around them. Right? Like I tore my hip flexor and developed I just continued grappling around that. Right? So my motor pattern got all sorts of fucked up. And then he taught me proper motor patterns so that I wouldn't keep putting wear and tear on the injuries I had.
That
And
makes sense.
And then on the flip side, he taught me how to chip away at the damage I did already have. Two different pillars of approach. Don't make things worse by correcting your motor patterns, right? Sleep better, eat better, breathe better, all that kind of stuff that he's talking about, same concept.
Yeah.
Do all of these baseline things more efficiently and more effectively and safer and more consistently, blah, 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 right? And then also, here's how we chip away at scar tissue. Here's how we get rid of tight muscles. Here's the trigger points that will release a whole series of things, right? He taught me the structural chain, right? So in order to keep your body stable, the joints all work together. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. Your big toe craves your big toe craves stability. Your ankle craves mobility. Your knee craves stability. Your hip craves mobility. Your low back needs to be stable. Your upper back gets mobile, and your neck needs to be stable. What happens if you have a too mobile of a knee? You go and you roll in the truck one day and shit starts popping, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
that
remember
is
that? Tearing my LCL.
yeah. Because then the same thing happened to me. That exact technique caused a similar injury on me 6 months later.
Really? I didn't know that.
Like 4 or 5 weeks after I worked with you, I was training at Reds one day, and this is not the same thing, but there's a purple belt from Ryan Courtney's school who was sitting on my chest in reverse in saddle, and he's holding on to my heel, and I tried to straighten my legs so hard I popped my own knee. Okay, and I popped it on the outside, so I thought I had a torn LCL. Went to Texas, went to physical therapy. This is the guy who pointed me in the direction of Brandon, said, if you're interested in learning how to do these things right, this dude's super technical. Like, that's who you want to go talk to. And he is, right? So then I was in Houston. Yeah. I was in Houston. I dropped in at a gym. Shout out to Gorilla Zoe. I forget what his real name is, but he's Gorilla Zoe on Instagram. And I'm rolling with this 225-pound black belt. And I go and I roll into truck. And my knee pops, right? Because if you look at it, what happened is I still use this technique, but I no longer do it without locking my legs, right? So now I always secure the figure four. Not always, but like in general, I secure the figure four. That way there's never a moment where 225 pounds is pushing on my ankle in this direction when my knee's supposed to go this way, right? Your
Yeah.
knee's only. But if I start pushing this way or this way, right, shit starts to pop. Okay. So if your knee is too mobile, things go wrong. If your hip doesn't move, things start to go wrong. If your low back does move, things start to go wrong. Right. So it's a whole chain. Right. It's all held together, not in straight lines, but with helixes. Because if I have straight lines, I tip and the whole thing falls over. But when it's a circle going the whole way up, it can go with it.
Makes sense.
If you're interested in recovery, that's the dude. Like Chris and I occasionally talk about like visiting San Angelo.
Yeah.
Because we were there for a year. That was the first place we like really lived together in a communal house. I lived in her apartment for like a year when I got back from the Netherlands or some shit, right? But then we got a place together. That's where she got pregnant. We had our first kid there. We got both of our dogs there, blah, 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 right? That's where we started our life together. San Angelo kind of sucks, but they have good fucking food.
See, Wichita Falls does not have good food, and I'm very upset about it because there's not even... I have had a hard time finding a good Mexican restaurant in anywhere near here, even in Dallas and Fort Worth. There was a couple okay ones, but Milwaukee way better in Mexican food than.
You get spoiled.
I was like, I'm way closer to the border now. This is not how it's supposed to be. I'm upset.
Have you figured out why that is?
Because people don't have taste buds here. I don't know.
It's because it's all Tex-Mex.
Yeah, I guess. Do they not like use seasonings? Because it's not even good Tex-Mex.
It's not even good Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex is bullshit. That's the point. Like, Texas food, cool. Mexican food, cool. Tex-Mex? The fuck is this shit? Every single...
Horrible.
How many Mexican restaurants do you think we went to while we were in Texas? Like 8? Tried to.
Yeah, probably.
Probably 8 to 10. There's Mexicans everywhere.
Yeah.
All of them but one sucked. Maybe 2 sucked. And the one we went to was amazing. Right? So we're in New Jersey now, right? Ain't no Mexicans in New Jersey. Every single other kind of Latino exists in New Jersey. Yo, you want Colombian food? I got you. You want Argentinian food, Brazilian food, Haitian food. Haitians aren't really Latinos, right? Puerto Ricans, Cubans, right? You name it, they've got it. Ain't no Mexicans in New Jersey. But in the Milwaukee area, they're like the only Latinos. There's like 6 Puerto Ricans and then 150,000 Mexicans. And every now and then you'll be like, that guy's from the Dominican Republic. And you're like, where's the Dominican Republic? Because that's how people in Wisconsin feel about things like that. Right? Like, for whatever reason, there's Mexicans in there and they cook like a motherfucker. They cook good. That's just not like that in Texas.
Yeah. Especially living on the south side of Milwaukee for so long. Like, I'm just so disappointed in Mexican food here. It's horrible.
Pizza in New Jersey sucks.
Really?
Yep. You'd think it'd be the opposite, right? Mexican food.
Are there a lot of Italians there?
Yeah. Yeah, but there's so many of them that it's all just kind of like, It doesn't suck. It's thoroughly average.
That's disappointing. I would think that it would be really good.
Exactly. And now part of that, I think, is that we don't entirely adore the style of pizza that they put out here. Right?
Is that the New York style? Like the thin?
Yeah. Yeah, but like, it's not that it's big. It's right. So like, yeah, it's New Jersey style pizza is basically New York style pizza. But more specifically, it's like they're not competing. It's like they're not proud of their work.
Yeah.
Right.
That's disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we went to an Italian restaurant. Maybe we've been to 2, and it was kind of like, because there's too many Italians out here. It's like oversaturation.
Yeah, that's just disappointing.
Too many Mexicans in Texas. The white people were like, why don't you Tex-Mex that shit? But Texans are dope. I love Texas.
The drivers here, the worst driving in America, I swear to God.
False. They're still polite.
No, they're not. No, maybe in San Angelo, they are not. In anywhere, Dallas, Fort Worth, Wichita Falls, they absolutely horrible, absolute asshole drivers.
Really?
Yeah.
What have you experienced? Yes, that's why. But they did that because they were polite. So in my experience, if they think you're going to pass them, they will drive off of the road onto the shoulder to give you the space to pass them.
Not here. They'll ride your ass even if you're going like 20 over the speed limit.
Yep.
Also, they're just freaking stupid because, okay, for example, I was on the freeway and I was on the exit ramp, and you know how like they have the service roads? Well, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get in the camera.
There's a ton of them here. There's a ton of them
there.
Service
roads that go on the side of the freeway, right?
Yep.
The service road had the yield sign because the people coming off the freeway are going like 75 miles an hour, right? So this dude sees someone coming up on the side road. He's in front of me. We're going 75 miles an hour because it's a long ramp. He sees someone that's driving behind us and is going to come up to that yield sign. They have to yield. We do not. He slams on his freaking brakes and comes to a complete stop on the off-ramp. I almost hit him because I'm going 75. And then he like stops and then like looks and like waits for the dude at the yield sign to go forward before he goes. And then also, I've been driving down a road. It is flat. It is flat as hell here. There's no such thing as landscape. It's just flat brown everywhere. Okay.
Have you gone to Austin and San Antonio yet?
Well, I went to basic training in San Antonio.
They're in like the mountains, kind of, and they're in the woods. It's totally different. It's green there. It's green and hilly and mountainous. It's very strange. Anyways, go ahead. Your thing.
So anyways, this is driving on a flat road. It's like clear and sunny out. There's no weather. Okay, it's dry. Mm-hmm. And this dude just all of a sudden, he's not even texting and driving or anything. He just like is on my side of the road coming straight at me. And I'm just like, dude, are you going to realize that you're on the wrong side of the road here? And then he just like all of a sudden realizes as like he's about to hit me, and then he swerves out of the way. And I had nowhere to go because there was like a concrete wall on this side of the road. And I'm just like, and he just like looks up at me and he's like, oh, sorry, my bad. And then just like keeps driving. And I'm just, and then I was on the highway and I was going 65 because it was like a country road, back road. It was like the speed limit was like 60, right? So I'm going 65. And the guy waits until I'm like not that far away because like, you know how you come up to a stop sign, you can see with your like depth perception eyes that someone's coming fast so you don't like turn out in front of them. This dude with a Corvette like waits until like I'm right up on him. He turns left in front of me. I was like, okay. I slam on my brakes because I don't want to hit him, but I was like, he's got a Corvette. He's probably just going to take off, right? Go fast. No, dude, he goes like 25 miles an hour on this 60 mile an hour road. And he like pulled out right in front of me. And so I had to slam on my brakes and I was so freaking mad. Like this shit happens to me all the time here. Hate it. If I told Justin, I was like, I want a freaking award if I make it through these 4 months without getting in an accident because some idiot doesn't hit me. Like I want an award. I want a trophy. I deserve it.
In my experience, Wisconsin drivers are the worst drivers of any place anywhere.
Texas, I think.
No, Wisconsin. Because the attitude in Wisconsin is there's plenty of space. You'll go around.
No, Wisconsin is not nearly as bad as this place. If you came here, you would understand.
All right, next time I'm in Texas, I'm going to try and go to Wichita Falls. Fuck that Wichita. I don't know Wichita Falls, Texas. Not unless there's
no one comes here because no one in their right mind would be here. The population somehow is like 130,000 people. Mm-hmm. But like I looked it up and 60,000 personnel are assigned to Shepherd Air Force Base at any given time. So that's like half of the population.
Yep. The town exists because of the Air Force Base. That's how Goodfellow was.
Yeah.
Goodfellow was 94,000 people. No, not Goodfellow. San Angelo was 94,000 people. That base or that town existed because of the base and because of the oil field. So everybody that lived in town that was either like, I went to college and came back to this town and I'm a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a blah, 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 blah. Or they owned a business that supported one of those other two industries, the oil field and the military base. And if you don't do one of those, you work a dead-end job for $7.50 an hour until you're 180 years old at Walgreens. Like, that's all that exists in those towns.
Yep.
All the adjacent towns are populations of like 1,500, 3,000, 280, right? And they're packed. Town after town after town after town is like that.
Yep.
It was an hour.
Cattle ranches.
Yeah.
Cattle ranches everywhere.
It was an hour and a half to the freeway.
At least there's like a highway that runs. I don't think it's the actual interstate. I think it's just a highway that like looks like a freeway. You know?
Yeah, there was those big roads that you could go 75 on, but like it was an hour and a half to get to an interstate.
It's about 2 hours to Dallas, and that's where you get the first actual interstate.
Wichita Falls. So you're probably up by like Amarillo. You're probably close to. I'll just look at it on a map in a minute. But yeah,
Lawton, Oklahoma is like an hour north of here. We're closer to Oklahoma than we are to like the rest of Texas.
Oh, okay. I got you. Very cool. Who is this dude that keeps commenting? The same guy. I think he's one of the people that I knew in the Netherlands. Because somebody keeps commenting on these live streams, and it's like languages that I don't understand. Like this one says VOM period RED. Like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me, homie. Why is that a comment? I hope that you mean like a real thing. I hope that you're still listening and you explained it to me. But that was like 30 minutes ago that he posted that shit. So who knows? Damn, I had another thing I was going to ask you. I don't remember what the thing. Oh, hey. Did you know that your name belongs in the record books for all of time?
Why?
Already, right? You are one of two women in the history of mixed martial arts to make it to the UFC from Wisconsin.
Who was the first one? Why am I drawing a blank?
I'm not even. How dare you? How dare you? She's an active fighter.
I can't even think. Oh,
she's currently
Rose. The reason I didn't think of her right away because she doesn't still live in Wisconsin, so like I wasn't thinking. Yeah.
But she grew up in Milwaukee. She started with at Anthony Pettis' gym, whatever that was, and then she went to Rufus Sport. And
I didn't know that.
Right?
For the record, I just had a blonde moment because I was thinking she was like, because I know she was in with Pat Beery up in like Minnesota for a while and then Colorado.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, so she doesn't still train in Wisconsin, right? But like, that's it. It's you and her.
Did not know that.
You and her carrying the entire state of women. No other. Chris said that Callie made it to the ultimate to the contender series. Callie Robbins, you know who that is?
Yep.
Okay. But that's the only other one we can come up with that's even been close.
Yeah.
There's only two of you. Good for you. Like you're already in the books. Everything you do after that, I don't know what your goals are. I don't know. That leads me to my next question. My last question. Why do you do what you do?
Well, lots of reasons. One of them being that I absolutely love the sport of martial arts, mixed martial arts. Martial arts is like a part of who I am. I started when I was 5. So like, I don't have very many memories of me not being a martial artist. And for me, like, it's just like a part of who I am, and I've loved it since I was a little kid. Second reason is ever since I was a little kid, I've had like this chip on my shoulder because there were people telling me I couldn't do certain things because I was a girl, and that used to piss me off, man. That's still like I don't like being told I can't do something. So like I go and I set out to prove them wrong, right? So I remember like in elementary school, even a teacher came up to me at recess and told me I wasn't allowed to play football with the boys because I was a girl, and like that shit like pissed me off. So like now I'm fighting. I'm doing like MMA and stuff because I want to prove, first of all, that I can do anything I set my mind to, and second of all, I want to show other little girls that they can do anything that they set their mind to, no matter what the stereotypes are. So like I want to show them that they can prove people wrong as well and pursue whatever dreams that they have. So that's like a huge driving factor for me.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That's a very good reason. Everybody's reason is different. Everybody's story is different. And that's really why I'm here. This is when people ask me, how did you get into blah, 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 blah? How did you get into mixed martial arts? I tell them my story, and they're like, wait, what? And, like, your story is your story. My story is my story. But I was under the assumption that everyone had my story.
Yeah,
now I'm hearing what everyone's story is. And there's some similarities here, some similarities there. But
I think the other thing about martial arts, especially like jiu-jitsu, is pretty cool because there's a wide variety of people that do it, and like you get together and you have like this one thing in common, but like everyone else has completely different separate lives. That's another thing I like about the military is like you meet people from all different backgrounds and stuff. And I like to understand people and like where they're coming from and why they think the way they think and why they do what they do. It's just fascinating to me, and it then helps me understand like why things are the way they are in like the country and politics and everything. Like, so I just try to gather as much knowledge, and like jiu-jitsu is a cool way to meet people from all different backgrounds, and yet you have something like huge in common. And that's why I think jiu-jitsu gyms are a really cool place to like make friends.
Because there's regularly a college kid and a degenerate and a cop and a doctor on the mat at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And they're all trying to fuck each other up.
Exactly.
And then bop, bop.
Yep.
And we're good. I like it a lot. Do you have anything coming up?
Not yet. Hoping, because I get back, I'll be full-time on my base, but I'll at least be able to train back at Wanderlays. Should be back to full-time training right after my wedding, and then hoping July, maybe August, something like that.
Hey, Chris, if we go back to Wisconsin at the end of March, Leah says I get to be the ring bear. I'm going to dress up like a...
May 21st, and I also did not agree to all of that. I just said you were invited to my wedding.
I didn't say May. At the end of May, I'm going to dress up like a bear, like a grizzly bear, and I'm going to present the rings. She said I could.
I did not say that.
At the end of May, you won't be at the other side of the world. It's like May 21st?
May 21st.
Yeah, May 21st. I'm not saying we have to go to Wisconsin. I'm just letting you know, if we go to Wisconsin, I get to be a ring bear. Oh! I am a registered minister.
I already have a pastor. I'm sorry.
All right, fine, whatever. I did it. I did it as a joke. I haven't officiated a wedding yet, but we have spent more time talking about me being registered to marry people than it did take me time to register to marry people.
That would be a ridiculous wedding. I actually do want to come see whatever wedding you decide to officiate. So you have to at least like record it or something for me.
Got you.
I don't know the person. So
my cousin and his girlfriend have agreed to allow me and her best friend to compete at the what's the dress rehearsal? The dinner before it's not a dress rehearsal, but
It's the rehearsal dinner.
Rehearsal dinner. Okay. We both get to present what we want to do as for the final wedding, and we will compete the day before because we both got into stand-up comedy and we both are official, whatever they call that. Not a minute, whatever. We can both bury people, whatever the fuck I had to get done to be able to do that. Right. And both of us are interested. She's like, all right, well, both of you show me what you want to do, and then we'll pick one, and the next day that guy gets to do it.
You got to record your presentation because now I'm curious.
Right? Yeah.
And if
I don't
you're
know.
in competition mode, it's going to be even greater. I'm just excited for that.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I don't even know when this is going to happen. Like, I mean, I already proposed to her for him. They just haven't gotten around to it yet. In front of him. Because I like her. They're good together. I was like, if he's not going to get around to it, I'll do it for you. It's okay. I got you, cuz.
That doesn't even surprise me at all, knowing
What?
you.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It shouldn't surprise you. It shouldn't surprise you at all. All right. Anything else you think the people should know?
Not that I can think of.
All right. No worries. I'm going to end the broadcast.